Freekbass, and you are watching for BassPlayersOnly.com. Tune in and get funky.
Hi everyone, John Liebman here. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com. We are on location at the London Bass Guitar Show with none other than Freekbass himself. What's happening, Freak?
How you doing, John? It's good to be here. It's good to meet you finally in person. We've talked so much online, and you're actually a real person.
Yes, I am. You know what's funny? You grew up in Cincinnati. I grew up in the Detroit area, so we're just a few hundred miles apart, and we had to come all the way to London to meet each other in person.
That's a good place to meet, though, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so should I say hello, Freekbass? Should we talk like...
Well, you mean, Cincinnati is right on the border of Kentucky, so, I got lots of hillbilly in me.
That was supposed to be a London accent, but...
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to Kentucky on me for a second.
Okay, you know what? I'll just be me then, and you just be you, and let's make that work. We did, as you alluded to, we did an interview a few years ago, and we got the background on your musical upbringing and your influences and Bootsy Collins, and so that interview is still up there. For BassPlayersOnly.com, just put in the search thing Freekbass, Freekbass. It'll pop right up. But let's hear you talk about some of that in person. We don't have to duplicate much of what we talked about, but I am interested in your musical upbringing. I know you were interested in magic. I know you told me, and you played. Your first instrument was bass, or you played?
My first instrument was drums. I started off as a drummer first, and then briefly went to guitar, and then there was a music school in Northern Ohio called Oberlin Music College, and
Ralph Armstrong was on the faculty there. Peter Dominguez is on the faculty there now. My aunt used to be on the faculty there as a singer, so yeah, that is a very highly regarded school.
Well, yeah, when I was in 5th or 6th grade, they actually, the jazz band would tour around, I guess probably regionally, and they came down, and they just happened to sit me directly in front of the bass player. I remember he had a SG bass. I remember that. Even at that age, but I just remember the double cutaway
Gibson.
thing. Yes, and I was, the sounds coming out of that thing, I was hooked. Automatically. Like I said, I was already playing drums at that point a little bit, and when I heard the sounds of it and just the chunkiness of it, I knew that was definitely my calling. Guitar, I always like guitar too, but even now, I play a lot of guitar now too, but guitar always feels so delicate to me. I feel like I'm gonna break something if I play it too hard.
You mentioned that in your first interview.
True, and that's, I always the sounds out of the bass and just the chunkiness and the thickness of the bass. That was just that whole thing. It kind of reminded me closer more to the drum world, I think, and and then growing up in Cincinnati, Ohio, of course. A lot of my friends were listening to, when kids like Nirvana and Green Day and stuff, and I love that stuff too. But, I was hearing stuff like, Zap and Midnight Star and all these bands that came out of Cincinnati. Of course, Bootsy and, the James Brown influence, even that James Brown's not from Cincinnati, his influence was huge in Cincinnati because of King Records being there, which is where he recorded all his hit songs at. So
Ohio is such a hotbed of funk. Back in the 70s, the bands that came out of there.
And you got Dayton right up the road too, which is, that's Zap and the Ohio Players and Slave, and it just goes on and on and on. And being a bass player, that was the stuff that I was just naturally drawn to, and that's kind of what hooked me.
Well, you mentioned Bootsy. I've got to ask you about Bootsy. Tell me about working with him. You went on the road with him, didn't you?
Yeah, we did this show back in 2008. He did, after James Brown actually passed away. He did a James Brown tribute tour, which is basically he brought all the original JBs out.
James has been gone that long?
Yeah, it's 2008. It might have even been 2007 because I think the tour was in 2008. And so he kind of did it in style where he would have, it was almost kind of vaudeville style where different acts would, the very first night was incredible. It was Buckethead, and we played, and African Bambaataa and Chuck D from Public Enemy, but the night would always end up with all the original JBs, including Bootsy on bass and Catfish on guitar, and
we lost him too.
Yeah. That's a whole nother tough one too, and but when we just started going on the road with it a little bit, the wild thing is at the end of the night, Bootsy would want to go out in the audience. So the first night he decided to do that, I just was kind of standing on the side of the stage, and he kind of was like, "Come on," and hand me the bass, and I'm like, I'm playing with all the original JBs. This is what, like, what's, and then, and it went great, and it was like
Maceo and
no,
Fred.
Maceo wasn't on the tour, no, and Fred did some of the dates, but it was, J-Bo and and a lot of those guys, and it was incredible. I mean, the level of, you think it's just like rhythm thing, but it's also like chord voicings, and there's so much deepness to it. I mean, we were standing on the side of the stage the first night we did the thing, myself, Buckethead, and Chuck D from Public Enemy, and they wanted us super bad, and you would have thought that, all three of us were like 12-year-old girls at a Justin Bieber concert. I mean, it was like, even Chuck D, as cool as Chuck D was, man, he was geeking as hard as the rest of us were. So
that's quite an experience.
It was really special, and Bootsy's just an incredible person. I mean, he's really from the school, not give you the fish, but teach you how to fish. And that's kind of how he was with me. Like the first time we started spending a good amount of time together, of course I thought, I'm going to learn all these really cool bass tricks and everything. But it was all about going in the studio and learning how to work the board and learning how to, the difference for the studio record versus a live album, and just the whole side of production. And so I could kind of form my own career based off of that. And, it's just something I'll value for forever.
Well, I got to ask you, because I know you've gone over to his house and he's engineered sessions. And okay, so Bootsy is home. He's hanging out in his own house. I don't imagine that he's got the stovepipe hat and the big glasses. What's Bootsy the man? William is his name, right?
Yes, William Collins.
So what is the guy like?
He's not too far off. Really, he's not. I mean, he's got that larger than life personality. Like there's like.
What was he wearing? Was he wearing like jeans and a t-shirt, or was he wearing?
Some camouflage stuff, I think, and but he's always larger than life. Bootsy's always like that, and it's just because it's so much of him. It's just, he's just got this magnetic personality, and he's just, you just want to be around the guy, and he's very, and he's so giving and just larger than life. He's like a big cartoon character, and. So it's a pretty special thing. Yeah, he's a very special person.
It's funny. The first time I met him, he, for some reason, I don't remember the context, but he mentioned Huckleberry Hound. And when you when you said cartoon characters, let's get back to Freekbass. Sure. You've got a new album, fairly new, Cincinnati. How is this record different from you? You've got over 10 records out now, haven't you?
About 8 or 9, close to it. Yeah.
Okay, so how is this one different from the others?
Well, I think, just like as a musician, just, as you get better at your craft, being a player from over the years, I think songwriting's the same thing. And like there's some stuff on my earlier albums that I listen to, some, especially lyrics, I'm like, oh, I can't believe I wrote that. But as your craft gets better, as like I said, as a musician, as a songwriter, that gets better too as well, and or at least I hope it does. And so I like to think, I definitely feel more confident as a singer, performer, songwriter, obviously bass player, and hopefully that'll shine through a little, on this new album.
Tell me about the equipment that you're using.
Yeah, well, I'm using, amp-wise, I'm just started working with Eden Amplification, which I'm real excited about.
Great company.
Yeah, so it's great. And then also, Diodario strings, which, Diodario is such a great company.
You've been using them a long time. Tell me why do you like the Dario strings so much?
Well, they keep their tone for such a long period of time, for starters, and I have such a frequency range, with all the effects and everything I use, and I'm always trying to get as much bottom out of my bass, but still have the definition at the top. There's always that battle of like, a lot of times you'll see like different players and they'll have like a ton of real nice low end, but it's hard to hear like a lot of the definition they're playing, or it's the opposite thing. You'll hear, and you'll hear all like the notes that they're playing, but there's no bottom to it. And Diodario, they have they kind of help you carry both worlds. That real nice rich bottom, but at the same time help you get all that definition at the top. And just totally, like I said, they keep them for so long.
You just gave me an idea. I got the title for your next record.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Frequency.
Spelled with 2 E's too. Yeah.
Gosh, I never thought of that. That's good too.
Yeah, there we go.
What
Right here first, an exclusive. Yeah.
What about the bass? What are you playing?
I'm playing so much stuff right now. Here this weekend, I'm the company called the Bass Center of London.
Sure.
They have their
Barry
own,
Morehouse.
Yeah, Barry's great. They have their own line of basses too, and so I'm using one of the Jive bass, which is like their version of a jazz bass, which I love to death. Another company that I play a lot too, which I also met here at the London Bass Guitar Show, is Anaconda. So I play them as well. And then, and of course I always go back to my go-to. I've got a 75 jazz bass that I, just, it's like butter, so that I definitely go to that too as well. So that's kind of the gist of what's happening there.
How about the future, Freekbass? What else have you got coming up? You're still young. You've got a lot of energy, and I have a feeling the new record is out, but the new record's probably the old record almost, because you're already moving on to the next project. What's coming up for Freekbass?
Well, speaking of rope, I'm real excited about. I'm just starting this new project with Robert Sputt. His stage name's Sputt. Seawright. He's on the new Kendrick Lamar album. He's in Snarky Puppy's drummer. Played with Erykah Badu for years and years. Played with Snoop Dogg for over 20 years. If you get a chance, check him out online. Just search Sputt, Snarky Puppy, like YouTube, and this guy is just he's a freaking machine. He's unbelievable, and really excited. My bass style mixed with his drum style, I think it's going to be something pretty special. So we're just kind of starting that right now, and that album should be out. We're gonna put that on the kind of fast track. So I mean that could be out as soon as maybe even early spring, because I think we're gonna do like an EP initially. So that's kind of just in the working phases right now.
Do you have a title for the record yet?
Not yet. It's just really early phases yet. So probably within the next, when I talk to you next, I'm sure we'll be all good to go there on that. Yeah.
Early spring is not too far off, so yeah, I'm sure it'll come to you. Last question, Freak. I don't remember if I asked you this last time or not. What would you be if you were not a bass player? Something outside of music.
Oh my goodness. I should run for president.
I was just going to say that.
Everybody else is, so I could probably pull it off, right?
I'd vote for Freekbass for president.
I'm a real outsider too. Let me tell you. So I'm
Feel the freak. There you go.
Right. So from when I was a kid, I'd probably be out doing magic tricks somewhere, or something like that. Yeah, I'm probably continuing the magic thing.
All right.
Yeah.
The new album, Cincinnati, the artist Freekbass, the label Rope-A-Dope Records, on location in London from the London Bass Guitar Show with the one and only Freekbass.
Thank you, John. Thank you for everything you do, man. It's got such an amazing publication, and it's got such a great buzz online, and thank you for letting me be a little small part of it.
Well, thanks for the thanks.
Oh, yeah.
I'm John Liebman. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com.